Hello. I would like to play a little game. Just a simple game. Child's play, really. I would like to play a game of Simon Says with you. Although, this will be Sherlock Says. I'm sure you're familiar with the rules. Good. To start off with, Sherlock says, relax. I'm not trying to trick you. Far from it, I'm trying to make you feel calm. This is a friendly game after all. Now, Sherlock says to touch your chin. See? Literally child's play. Sherlock says to touch your nose. Sherlock says touch your ear. Good. Now touch your other ear. I hope you're still touching your other ear. Alright. I can see I'm dealing with a professional here. Alright. Sherlock says touch your other ear now. Good. Now, Sherlock says close your eyes. Very good. Keep them closed. Your eyes shouldn't be closed right now. Remember when I said I wasn't trying to trick you? I may have lied just a little bit. Just a little bit. Alright. But really, Sherlock says relax. Relax, put on some comfy clothes. Sherlock says you're allowed to do that if that helps you relax. Put on some loose clothes or lie down. You're allowed to. Sherlock says you can lie down if you want. Or you can sit if you want. This is meant to be a comfy game. A casual game, if you will. Alright. Now, Sherlock says, give it a big toothy grin. Nice and wide. The biggest you can do. Alright. And Sherlock says, do a big old frown. Like you're very grumpy. Like someone brought you stale pancakes. Alright. Now, smile again. Alright. Now, Sherlock says, fold your fingers together. Sherlock says, clasp your hands really tight together, like you're squeezing your own hands together. Alright, you can stop now. Alright, Sherlock says you can stop now. Sherlock says, count to 10. I think you'll find I said Sherlock, not Sherlock. It's very important to know. Are you paying attention? You have to be paying attention for this game. Alright. Sherlock says, count to 10. You can do it faster, you can do it slow, it doesn't matter. Okay. Now, Sherlock says, puff out your cheeks. Sherlock says, scrunch your eyebrows. Now, I didn't say you could stop puffing your cheeks. So if you stopped puffing your cheeks in order to scrunch your eyebrows, you lose a point. Hey, I didn't make the rules here. That's a lie. I make the rules here. Alright, Sherlock says take a deep breath in and out. Sherlock says take a deep breath in, and Sherlock says take a deep breath out. You have to be careful. I'm chaining them together now. Alright. Sherlock says focus on your breathing. Sherlock says close your eyes. Shirley says you can open your eyes. This isn't Shirley says. This is Sherlock says. Alright. Simon says you can open your eyes. I hope you're not falling for these. It'd be most unfortunate if you were. Alright. Sherlock says you can open your eyes now. Alright. Sherlock says that your new prompt is Simon says. Alright? So now you only do things if I precede them with Simon says, okay? Alright, Sherlock says, hold your breath. Alright. Simon says, focus on your legs and relaxing them. Simon says, focus on any tension you might be holding in your legs and letting it go. Alright. Simon says, the new prompt is Sherlock says. Alright, so we're back to the original. Alright. Sherlock says, focus on your shoulders and any tension you might be holding in them. If you're feeling tense, Sherlock says to try to focus on easing the tension in your shoulders, just letting them drop. Sherlock says focus on any tension in your jaw now, and removing any tension. Unclench your jaw. Sherlock says you can unclench your jaw if you need to, and just let your body relax. Sherlock says let your body relax. The day is coming to an end now. You're allowed to unwind a little bit. Okay. Sherlock says, look at the light. It's fine. Just look at the light. Alright. Sherlock says, don't look at the light. Sherlock says, whatever you do, do not look at the light. says the light's evil. You shouldn't look at the light. You should look anywhere but the light. Alright, Sherlock says you can look at the light again. The light's no longer evil. Sherlock says, look at my finger. Don't look at the light. Look at my finger. You should be looking at the light right now. Sherlock says, look at my finger. I said Sherlock, not Sherlock. Okay. Sherlock says, your new prompt is Shirley says. So, Shirley says, look at the light. Shirley says, look at the light. You look at the light. Shirley says, don't look at the light. Look anywhere but the light. Shirley says, look anywhere but the light. Shirley says, look at my finger. Now back at the light. Alright, Sherlock says you can stop looking at the light. I don't think I got any of you with that one. Alright, Shirley says your new prompt is the old prompt. Sherlock says. And Sherlock says, don't look at the light. Sherlock says, look at my finger. Now look at my nose. I think you're getting better at this game. Alright, Sherlock says, look at my finger. Sherlock says, look at my nose. Sherlock says, look at my finger. Sherlock says, look at my nose. Now, Sherlock says, follow my finger. It's fine, just follow my finger. You shouldn't be following my finger right now. Sherlock says, follow my finger. Sherlock says, don't follow my finger. Sherlock says, look anywhere but my finger. I'm trying to catch your eye. Sherlock says, don't let me catch your eye. Sherlock says, stop looking at my finger. Sherlock says, close your eyes. Sherlock says, hum if you see a light through your eyelids. Good, keep humming. Shouldn't be humming right now. Alright. Sherlock says, hum if you see a light. Sherlock says, don't hum if you see a light. Sherlock says, stay quiet. Sherlock says you can open your eyes again. Sherlock says, let me know if you're enjoying this, if you're having fun, or you're finding it's actually kind of helping you unwind a little bit. You can drop a comment if you like, or you can just say it to your screen. Sherlock says you can do either of those. Sherlock says, feel your face. I know it might feel a little weird. Just kind of massage your face. Sherlock says you can massage your face. You can stop now. No, you can't. I didn't say Sherlock says. I don't know if I will, to be honest. Oh, very well. Sherlock says you can stop massaging your face. Sherlock says, put your fingers like this, your pinkies. That's all. And Sherlock says, now take your ring fingers and do the same thing. It's fine, no tricks here. Yet. Alright, now do the same with your middle finger. Sherlock says do the same thing with your middle fingers. Alright. Sherlock says do it with your pointer fingers now. Sherlock says, do it with your thumbs now. Your hands should be completely stapled now. Alright. Sherlock says you can unstaple your fingers. Alright. Sherlock says, tell me about your day. Was it good? Perhaps it wasn't so good. Maybe it was a bit stressful. Or maybe nothing happened. Maybe your day was complete blur. Nothing exciting happened. Nothing eventful happened. But I want to hear about it. Alright. Sherlock says, wink. Doesn't matter which eye, you can do either one. Sherlock says, blink. Alright, make your eyebrows dance. Alright, Sherlock says, if you can, make your eyebrows dance. Okay. Sherlock says, touch your forehead. Alright, now touch your chin. Sherlock says, touch your chin. Alright, Sherlock says, touch your nose. Sherlock says, touch your cheeks. These cheeks. We don't want any weird ones here. Alright. Sherlock says, ring your ears. Both of them. And Sherlock says, relax. You're doing very well. I must say, I'm a little impressed. You must have been quite the expert on the playground. Alright. Sherlock says, look around and tell me the first thing you see that's blue. Could be a book, could be a vase, could be the walls themselves. Alright. Sherlock says, tell me the first thing you see that's red. Do you see anything at all? Or are the lights out and you can't see a thing? Well, if you can't see anything red, I suppose, that's fine. Okay. Sherlock says, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Shirley says, take a deep breath. Sherlock says, take a deep breath. Are you enjoying this? I'm having quite the fun, I hope you know. You can go to sleep if you want. Or am I lying? Perhaps I have to tell you to go to sleep first. I suppose it depends on how meta I want to get. Perhaps I should be telling you if you're allowed to blink or not. You're allowed to blink. Sherlock says you're allowed to blink. I'm not going to be that cruel. But Sherlock says you can go to sleep if you want. You can fall asleep. Nobody here but us chickens. I'm not going to keep you awake. Sherlock says, have a good night, or day, whatever. Have a good time, I'll say. Sherlock says, have a good time. And I hope you do. I really hope you do. Okay. Good night.